Hi everyone! The aim of this lecture is to analyze the transition of branding strategies from platform of interaction with users to real engagement strategies producing societal impacts. Fashion, interpreted as a culture-intensive industry, represents a unique context because of its layered nature. It is at the same time a sophisticated expression of our society, being a melt of different languages and artistic disciplines, but also one of the oldest manufacturing sectors in Western countries, part of their industrial roots and still a key component of present economies with a global scale of impact. As a traditional manufacturing sector, it's been following all steps of industrial revolutions, being at the very center of mass production and consumption dynamics. Along its development as an industry, it has been reaching a global scale of impact, participating and sometimes accelerating globalization processes, also producing several negative impacts in social communities through homologation and cultural impoverishment, as well as deeply affecting the quality of the environment by becoming the second polluting industry in the world. These two dimensions of fashion are currently colliding and putting brands in front of a challenging scenario. The rise of new consumers' attitudes fed by a growing awareness of fashion's negative impacts hasn't found in the established fashion industry a consistent model and storytelling, and has been giving space and legitimacy to several alternative voices. Such as, for example, EVERLANE, a brand entirely built on the concept of radical transparency, or Vestiaire Collective and Dress You Can, exploring completely new business models such as second-hand and rentals, which aim at transforming fashion from a product-centered business to a service-centered one. Together with these new generation brands and their different narratives, other voices are contributing to reshape the global discourse on fashion, coming from a growing community of fashion activists and NGOs, such as, for example, Fashion Revolution and Clean Clothes. In response to this push, there has been a decisive development of corporate social responsibility units, CSR for short, within companies, much wider than in other industrial sectors. At first, they have been shaping strategies pursuing internal and external actions for reducing fashion brands' negative impacts, and thus being able to communicate their publics new commitments towards the collective good. As a result, several established brands, as well as new ones, have been designing specific actions with the aim of positively impacting society and communities, thus being able to rewrite brands' narratives. In other words, they have been embracing the concept of translating brands' value into social and cultural action-oriented strategies, able to reframe brands' storytelling by offering completely new contents to engage their customers. In this sense, brands are shaping new platforms of interaction with users, not by simply envisioning lifestyle scenarios embodying their customers' same values, but creating altruistic and cooperative platforms where customers can feed their sense of belonging to causes devoted to pursuing societal and cultural collective benefits. In light of the above scenario, there is an ongoing shift of branding from simply growing transparency by reducing impacts to engage customers in brands' social and cultural policies, which can be traced into three main directions of change: territorial valorization, education, and community development. The first dimension of change refers to the reframing of the relationship between the company and the territories where it is located. This strategy of change tends to reinterpret manufacturing operations as a lever to positively impact territories where it is located. This is pursued through quality criteria which inform many aspects, from architectural infrastructure to work environment and services for employees, from valorization of environmental resources to the use of renewable source of energy and the reduction of waste and toxic substances. Several examples are springing out in fashion industries, for example with Prada's garden factories in Montevarchi and Valvini in Tuscany, which are tracing a promising trajectory of harmonization with nature and the local ecosystem. This same approach, also enhanced by the care for rebirthing the local historical and cultural heritage, have influenced Cucinelli's distributed factory at Borgo Solomeo. A specific attention to reducing environmental impacts is represented also by Detox, a project launched by Greenpeace aimed at reducing the use of toxic substances and embraced in 2011 by an entire manufacturing district in Prato, also known as the largest knitting recycling industry at a global scale. A second dimension of change refers to the reframing of the relationship between the company and local communities of its reference. This is the result of the need for regrowing a sense of belonging of the company to a larger social environment by contributing to its development in terms of know-how and opportunities. This attitude goes back to historical roots of fashion, when companies had to formalize educational paths for transferring the specific know-how of the brand on products which were highly characterized by unique features belonging to a unique making culture. Across the last decade of the 20th century, through the localization and often homologation processes, this attitude was progressively lost. The new millennium has not only seen a growing reshoring attitude within high-end brands, but also the revamping of this educational role of companies. This can be found in the relaunch of long-lasting experiences, such as the Tailoring School of Brioni in Penne, originally founded in 1985, or the opening of new ones, such as Keaton's Scuola di Alta Sartoria, High Tailoring School, Bottega Veneta's Scuola dei Maestri Pellettieri, School of Leather Craftsman Master, and LVMH Institut des Métiers d'Excellence, Institute of Craftsmanship Excellence. Together with these initiatives, many others have been launched to grow the quality of life of companies' local communities and their cultural and social life. The third direction of change goes along the phenomena of fashion activism, which has seen a large diffusion during the last 2 decades, both through the creation of dedicated NGOs, as well as social enterprises establishment and design professionals' individual actions. This new trend has started to be influential for traditional fashion brands, pushing them to implement specific actions directed to produce positive social impacts. While first signs of this social turn can be seen in several charity-oriented initiatives, a more interesting form of societal engagement is rising in fashion, further consistent with brands' know-how and potential. New projects oriented to valorize fashion making as an empowerment process have been launched, for example to reskill fragile people, such as Todd's Leather Laboratory opened at San Patrignano, an Italian community for recovering and prevention from drug dependency. Or Gucci Equilibrium, a strategy of sponsoring projects relying on socially and environmentally responsible practices, also aimed at using fashion as a way of growing women emancipation. Or finally, Fashion for Empowerment, a brand entirely designed around the concept of enhancing the cultural dimension of fashion, valorizing its potential of empowerment for small craftswomen communities. In light of the scenario described, successful branding processes not only need to be increasingly informed by transparency, but also rely on the capacity of brands to implement new societal engagement strategies. Only these actions can support the creation of the type of contents and storytelling new generation audiences are searching for. To conclude, during this lecture you have seen the main trajectories for fashion brands in societal engagement strategies and their relevance for contemporary fashion branding.